And welcome back to the Sunday Report. My name's Josh. We got a lot to talk about. Last week was a great week. Actually, you know what? Before we even start, let's pull this up. Let's give a shout out to one of the Discord traders who closed 714% returns on his puts last week. Absolutely killer. And remember, if you're in the Discord, you can always get these alerts and keep up with what's going on there as well. Anyways, let's break down what's coming up this week and where we see the opportunities. So we're going to open up the report a little bit different today because there was some big news last Friday that I didn't talk about that we definitely need to get into. Shame on me for not making any content about it sooner. And that would be FedEx. So if we're going to go hop over here, we can see that the company stock declined 21% last Friday after the market closed. There's been a lot of headlines saying that they're signaling a global recession. Now, I can't help but feel some of this might be a little exaggerated. It's an important thing to note for this particular earnings report. It was a brand new CEO that steps into the company. And remember, just as a disclaimer, I would rather this be bearish because it would validate a lot of the fundamentals that I've been saying, hey, we're in a recession. If this company's not saying, hey, there's a global recession coming, that would really align with everything that I've been seeing for the past few months. But there's a few things here that affect FedEx solely that don't affect the greater economy that I think a lot of people are looking past. We have to remember that Amazon's a huge competitor that got into shipping and is stealing a lot of their business. They also have other natural competitors and they've been falling behind anyways. And this is a brand new CEO, like I said previously, that's stepping in. He has to reset expectations for the company. It's a very large company to step in the shoes of and then take the managerial duties that he now has. He needs to set these expectations. And the lower they are, the more he can over deliver on them. So that's important, really important to remember when reading through all these very, very bearish headlines. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think we're not in a recession. I think we've been in a recession and the next quarter will bring confirmation of that. And then this whole back and forth of are we not, is going to evaporate and everyone's going to be in a consensus that yes, we're in a recession. Down to what degree or how deep that recession will then be the discussion. I still think that it could be a very mild recession, but time will tell. And now that we've got that news out of the way, let's go ahead and dive into the charts and talk about the upcoming week. So the first thing I want to take note of here is the SPY. We're still in this chop range that we've been discussing, coming to the lower end of it. And if we look here on the RSI for the daily, it's definitely getting like it's oversold, like there could be some more chop to the upside here. One of the things I want to point out though is that coming into the open on Monday, this is getting very overbought on the 5-minute, staying very overbought levels, and the 15-minute looking a little bit better here, but it looks like this rally that we saw into the close could likely see some sell-off in the Monday before we achieve some higher levels. And the retracement that you've seen me graph right here, which actually should be coming up a little bit higher. We want this to retrace up to here. It looks like we could see a revisit that tries to push to the 400 range. I expect up in this range will be the top of the week, and then we'd likely see some retracement further to the downside. One of the things to remember right now is that there is no stock buybacks going on, so you're losing a lot of that buying liquidity right now at this time period in the market. It is a very bearish time period in the market, but really until we break out of this range, I'm not expecting any big moves on the market. I expect more chop to develop through here, and if we look over at VIX, we could see that range as well. Remember, we've been seeing when VIX gets below this 26, it likes to rally. When it gets above this, it gets into that 28, it likes to make those big sell-offs. So as we can see right here, I'm not seeing the VIX break out to either way, and I'm not seeing a big breakout on the market as well. And actually, if we span out here, you'll get a better picture of that. You can see on the daily how that range looks right here. And I did not just mean to throw my Fibonacci levels around everywhere. Now, let's go ahead and also talk about energy. XLE is showing like it wants to sell off, and then we're seeing on everything very bullish. RSI below 50 looks like it wants to head to the downside. See the crossover on the RSI to the downside. We're seeing the TTM squeeze roll over on the daily. It doesn't look much better if you get on a shorter time frame. Although it is looking a little bit more oversold here, we do actually have a cross to the upside on the RSI and SMA. And we do see that this looks like it's starting to peel back up. Overall, everything looks like the energy wants to continue to chop, which really reflects the conversations that have been seen that have been occurring on the market as well. People have been dating back and forth forth. Will energy go up? Will it not go up? Some people are saying, well, the government's stepping in and they want to buy. That's bearish. It shows there's not many buyers. The government wants to step in. But to me, that's actually bullish. And in fact, that argument completely just breaks my mind a little bit. Obviously, if there's government's going to be buying in, they're going to be buying in large amounts to try and fill the emergency reserves. Obviously, that would be bullish for the sector. Now, what would be bearish here? Okay, be honest with me here. When's the last time you actually planned out your spending, your finances, or planned for your retirement, or how to preserve the wealth you already have? Listen, you need to call Rob Reed. There's no one better. Learn about different investment strategies to help you create or preserve your wealth. It's for your success. You know you need to get it done. I know you've been pushing it off. But honestly, learning about index-based life insurance, which is basically like a rich man's Roth IRA and allows me to be my own bank, was huge. So if you want to learn more, call the number above or visit cwrpcg.com, especially if we start talking about UNG. And actually, let's go ahead and pull up UNG real quick, because we've been hearing that Europe wants to set some price caps. This would be really bad. And as we could see pretty much as those conversations began about price caps, that UNG started to capitulate a bit here. Now remember, price caps are terrible. Price caps mean that these companies will be at risk of bankruptcy because they can't be properly funded for the actual expenses of the company, which means that government will have to step in and bail them out. That means governments will have to take on a ton of debt, in an environment where interest rates are rising, making that debt even harder to pay back. Remember, a lot of this debt in US dollars, if we pull up DXY, where's that been going up? It then becomes even harder and harder to pay back the debt, which you are now making exponentially higher due to the energy crisis that's occurring. The energy crisis might not be the worst crisis. The worst crisis might be, how in the world do they pay back all this debt that they've now loaded up? And so that might be a conversation that you hear coming in the next probably like 6 months, probably at the beginning of next year. We'll start to hear some rumors about this. Some have started now, but I think it will become a major conversation in the future that we must be aware of and be very in tune to. And since we're talking about natural gas, let's also talk about a company that's been discussed in the Discord a lot lately, looking at Bloom Energy, ticker BE. We can see this pullback for the fourth wave coming in here. I would say that this could go a little bit lower to complete this fourth wave. We would look for 2101 to be the pullback here, and then look for a big fifth wave that could give some potential for an options play in the long term, looking into this to play out likely into the mid-October range. But that could be some great returns to be made there in the short term, as this is starting to look very bullish. And we can see that the RSI is still holding up on a bullish trajectory at 50, and that the TTM squeeze looks like it wants to roll up to the upside. Very interesting potential there. And remember, I've been talking about doing some more stock picking. We're going to start doing that. I'm just going to quickly go over one company I like. In the future, we're going to be doing more and more individual companies as well. And this one is CFVI. This is a SPAC, but on Monday, it's actually going to be listed post-merger as RUM. And this is Rumble. This is the YouTube competitor that's been getting a lot of traction because of a very popular social media name, Andrew Tate. And you might have seen me actually make, I think, just one video about him in the past. But he's been banned for having misogynistic takes on women, or so is proclaimed. Most of his content isn't related to that at all, given he said a lot of dumb things, like saying that women aren't as smart as men. This is, years and years and years of intelligence studies have been done, and it clearly shows women are smarter than men. And he was talking about the chess world, which, then you have psychology studies that you can fall back on, where it's men are just more competitive as women, so they tend to outperform. When it becomes a competition, they do tend to outperform. But if you're talking about straight up intelligence, there is no argument there. Women are definitely smarter than men. These are the sort of the nuances that someone like him, who's just making jokes, doesn't touch on. But regardless, to ban him because he makes dumb jokes and says things that are wrong is just ridiculous. The point of having a conversation is to have a conversation. If someone says dumb things, you want them to say them publicly and as loudly as possible so that other people can make other content, destroying those and talking about it and having a thorough discussion so that the best ideas can rise to the top, which has always happened since the beginning of human existence. The idea that you need to start censoring people so that we can't have normal conversations is just ludicrous and only something a total crazy person would say or do. Now, again, Rumble gives him a new platform, and for the first time in a long time, we're seeing his followers follow him from somewhere like YouTube actually over to Rumble. That's huge. Huge, 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 huge. So rarely does this actually occur. And does anyone remember Ninja? When Ninja, big Twitch streamer, he even did the dropping of the ball in New York. You know, he tried to do the floss and no one would do it with him. Had a big embarrassing moment. When he left Twitch and tried to go to the Microsoft streaming platform, no one followed him. This was a big deal and is significant because it's really hard to actually get a following to go break their habitual usage of a platform and go to a new platform. To see that these people will likely build new habits on a new platform that they'll likely become accustomed to using is a big deal, because it means it sets, you know, when we're talking about 500,000 people and we're seeing other YouTubers see him be able to do that and also make the transition, this large group of people going over there means that this company could be an actual competitor to YouTube. Remember, it doesn't have to be the size of YouTube to actually have some longevity and duration to a success. Simply having a good baseline and being able to grow from there could be a big one, especially as censorship continues to pick up. That was a lot, but in my perspective on this, I'm seeing this as, for a social case, as a very bullish move, and I'll have a very close eye on this company, which we actually already have a position in, and to see if this continues to perform to the upside. I also love that it's no longer a SPAC, it's now actually listed. So a lot of that risk has been taken out, and now we can see how the company performs on its merits. There was also a great conversation with the CEO in an interview, and I like this guy. He reminds me a lot of David Eck, who's the CEO of Spotify, who gave Joe Rogan a chance, which I think was a baller move. And I think Rumble's about to make a lot of the same baller moves. Now remember, the CEO doesn't agree with Andrew Tate. That's not the point, right? The point is not whether or not you agree with this person. The point is simply if you have the belief that people should be able to have conversations, even if it means dumb people saying dumb things, which they certainly will. Now in the future, I'll definitely do more stock picking. We'll talk about individual companies, even break down some of their financial reports, and then talk about, you know, the earnings growth potential, all of that. But for Rumble in particular, that's all we really have to talk about. Remember, very young company, not even much charting to do over there, simply just off the fundamentals of the business and what we like about it and the management team. So now it's time to break down some of the economic calendar for the upcoming week. Jumping right into the week, Monday, there's not much going on. Tuesday, we're going to get some housing data for real estate. If you've been looking at real estate on a national level, if you've been following it, seems very localized to where you're seeing prices come down. In some areas, they are coming down significantly. Overall, though, it just seems like a slowdown in buying. It doesn't seem like the collapse that a lot of people were predicting for the bubble burst. Now, how this plays out in the next year will probably be pretty interesting to see if it slows down even more. However, this is, you know, not what you want to see if you're bullish. You don't want to see this continue to decline, which it definitely has been, although it hasn't been as bad as some of the reports have been saying. Big thing is going to be Wednesday. Wednesday, the Fed interest rate decision. And as we can see, 75 base point hike is what is expected. However, remember, last week we saw a surprise to the upside for inflation. I would not at all be surprised to see a 100 base point hike and to see the market turn over, which I think could be what breaks us out of that chop range that we talked about on the charts earlier. A 100 base point hike could catch the market off guard. Remember, the market's still waiting for the Fed to pivot, even though they've said over and over and over that they will not pivot. They will continue to tighten down the market. Even with the FedEx report about a global recession, I still think they must respond to the inflation data that they're getting. And I think a 100 base point hike could be on the table for this report, which would catch the market off guard. Any surprises to the downside would also catch the market off guard, likely lead to a very big rally that I think will actually take us out of that chop range that we have set though. Remember, when this report comes out, watch the volatility. It'll tell you a lot of signals before the S&P index will. So, and then we have some economic projections. I expect this to just be blah, blah, blah. We'll follow the data. Could do this, could do that. Expecting this. No recession because we live in la la land and follow the data dependent, a bunch of nothing. I don't expect anything important to come out from the economic predictions. So you're going to get more from the companies like FedEx. And that, in this regard, if you want economic projections, it's not even worth listening to the Fed, in my opinion. Then we'll have a press conference. It will be important to listen to the press conference. Let's see if Powell, what he has to say. But again, I don't expect anything important to come from here. Maybe just some more hawkishness or perceived dovishness. Some of the reports here, I'll listen to the whole thing word for word, and I'll be like, oh, that was pretty hawkish. And then I'll see the report saying, actually, technically dovish, because the way he said this word with this inclination in his voice actually means, it's like, sometimes I feel like I listen to this stuff too much. I'm a little over it if you can't tell, because the Fed's not going to pivot. I think it's going to be very hawkish. I think 100 basis points definitely on the table, and I think it's going to be clamped down on the market. Any surprise outside of this 75 base point hike to the upside or downside, I think will have a big market reaction. Coming into Thursday, not seeing much. We're going to see some jobless claims, initial jobless claims. This is continuing to hold up better than expected. And then on Friday, we're going to have our PMI flash. Remember, these are going to be somewhat significant. Remember, ISM is the data that we're really going to be wanting to keep an eye on. So for the upcoming week, Wednesday is going to be your big day for the market movements. And that's about it for this Sunday report. If you enjoyed this report, please leave a like or subscribe. It helps a lot. And join the Discord. That's where all the conversation is. We recently revamped a lot of the features in the Discord to allow more conversations and for you to promote yourself. If you want to promote what you're working on, maybe another trader, or maybe you've got, we've got one individual in the Discord she runs a cooking show over on TikTok. She's been promoting that. Some of the other traders also do. Some of the option sellers actually do different lessons on TikTok as well. They've been advertising that. Whatever it is, what's your hustles? We have a lot of real estate agents. They've been sharing different applications they use for house hunting that are really cool, really innovative, and helpful if you're working in that industry. So all that and more, all in the Discord. Link in the bio. Remember, it's free to join. Most of the stuff in there is completely free to you. And every once in a while, I'll also publicly share my trades or stocks I like or opportunities that come up. And we're going to start doing some more live streams in there as well for the time being. And there's a few other big announcements that are in there. So you'll need to join if you want to tune into those as well. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this week's report. That'll be it. I know there's lots more to talk about. So make sure you follow us here. Some shorts are going to be on the way because, man, the news reports, it's hard to keep up with them. It's just nonstop. Go, 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 go. And I sometimes get tired. But this isn't the time to be tired. This is the time to get to work. So I'll see you very soon.